Well, today it's natural, but in the beginning, I didn't have that balance, Joe, and I wasn't seeking wealth. I was running from zero. I was
Hmm.
tired of being poor, man. In the '90s, HVAC techs didn't really make that much.
Please welcome America's service sales coach, Joe Crisara.
Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast, the show that helps home service professionals master high-value sales, build stronger client relationships, and grow their business like never before. Join industry experts as they share real strategies that drive results. If you're ready to level up your service game, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
It's the Service MVP Podcast.
Thank you for listening and watching the Service MVP podcast. I want to give you a copy of my free book. Just click on the link below in the description and one will be sent to you from me personally. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. And with me, a very special guest, Mr. Gary Singleton from Apex Service Partners. Gary, welcome to the show here today.
Thanks, Uncle Joe. See what I did there?
It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know Apex is a large investment group that invests in the service industry and has a overriding goal to make service companies better and increase the quality of lifestyle of the people who work there and things like that. Tell me a little bit about how you got yourself in a position. Tell me a little about the journey to where you got here, if you don't mind, Gary.
Sure, and the journey's all the fun, right? So I started Maxair in 1996, and essentially I scaled it twice. Honestly, the first time I scaled it the wrong way. I took every kind of work that came at me. I was the typical owner that was working 80 hours a week, but I was young, I was driven, and hey, as long as it's succeeding and growing and adding trucks, everything was fine. At least that's what I thought.
Yep.
I went through a bad divorce, unfortunately, and basically had to start over from scratch again. The second time I built it the right way. One thing I learned about coaching, Joe, I did a lot of things right, but I figured them all out on my own, which in hindsight, I could have hired a fellow like yourself, saved me a lot of time, money, stress, not trying to shamelessly plug you there, but that's the truth. I did eventually hire a coach by the name of Rick Hutcherson, who was a fantastic and outstanding coach at the time. And he put me on the right track to doing things the right way, which of course is what attracted private equity when I got to a size where they wanted to buy. And ironically, Rick Hutcherson, my coach that I'd used back then, was now their coach. So to me, it seemed like a win. They approached me, ironically, Joe, what I'd done, probably my biggest trophy in the case was after joining Service Nation Alliance, I had been trying to do an acquisition, because that helps. I was really trying to get to 20 million, which today would be 35 probably.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't make an acquisition happen. I mean, I was trying and failing. I couldn't, I couldn't seem to meet on price with a seller. And I was really trying to just find small mom and pops. My biggest competitor at the time, they were doing 18 million. They were having money trouble. Their technician showed up at my shop looking for work, and I ran out the door, camped out in front. Long story short, stayed the course until I was able to purchase them. And I bought them with cash, and they were 3 times my size at that time. So that was a scary, big jump, very scary, but also very exciting. And once I did that, man, I was on the fast train to growth. And I was really seeking to do more of that, more acquisitions for me. And I guess through just checking with brokers, I just kind of put it out there. I was looking to buy more companies. And one broker said, if you thought about selling, said, no, going the wrong way here. I'm trying to buy. And it's funny. I'll never forget what he said. He said, well, it's probably a lot more than you think, the purchase price. That stuck with me. And I'm like, all right, I'll hear you out, but I'll be really mad, wasting my time. And he was right. It was a lot more than I thought. And man, I was really blessed. I've had some good people in my life. Ken Goodrich is one. Ken had also reached out to buy me at the time, and I think he helped raise my purchase price. So I owe that guy. He's a good guy. He's definitely knowledgeable,
Hmm.
and so it's almost a bidding war. And Apex Service Partners is the entity that bought me, and so that was in 2020. Strange year, right? Strange year for everything,
Yeah, yeah.
but to sell as well. It was at the end of 2020 though, and I loved it. They asked me to stay on as a consultant and coach, and the thing I wanted to stress is not all private equities are bad. They're not all created equal. I do have some friends that have some horror stories, Joe, but mine has been nothing but wonderful. The
Well,
empl-
let me stop you right there, because right there, I want to just kind of, before you get too far away from this, first of all, I love the fact that you're putting a face on the Apex, partner name, because I think sometimes that's it. The private equity is sort of like a cloud of investors or whatever, and it's hard to put a face to it. Or like I think Ken Goodrich does a great job of that, which sharing what's in his heart when he's doing this, so people know his true intention. It's not just about the money part. Obviously, is a reality, but there's more to it than money. It's got to fit into the culture that you're trying to create. And by the way, I wanted to mention two things. Rick Hutcherson was a great, dear friend of mine too, a contemporary. When I first started doing consulting myself back in the early 2000s, he's one of the first guys who reached out to me and said, "Congratulations, welcome to join the consulting groups and different things like that." I was in the same group he was in, and we were both working together to help contractors as friendly. I would say non-competitors, because we both had the same heart where we're trying to help people. So he was a dear, dear friend, and of course his passing was way too soon. He's a great, great friend whose passing was way too. And then Drew Cameron was also part of my trifecta of people that were just great people who had great character and the heart of service. And Ken, that's what I've heard about you. I've heard that you also come from that tree in the heart of service. Tell me about that. What is it that gets into your head to say, not only do I want to do service for others, but I want to do it on a bigger scale like that? Tell us about what got into you to make you want to scale that service like that.
okay, yeah, that's a great question. And I'll be honest. When everyone has one of the biggest questions is, how do I find good people, right? And you, and as well as many others, give the best advice of, well, you grow your own in house. And I never would have guessed that trying to level up young men, trying to grow and nurture and level up young men would be something I enjoy. If you'd have told me that in my 20s, I'd have laughed. And I think I discovered by necessity I really didn't have a choice. I better get good at this, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Once I did, I didn't realize how much I would like it, how fulfilling it would feel. And it really did. And I think it wasn't just that. Now, of course, I wanted the growth and success of the company. I wanted to, see it get bigger. I wanted to work a little less one day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I stumbled across the fact that I really loved molding young men, and women, because the CSRs were mostly girls in my company, and I had to do the same with them. And I enjoyed it, and it was very rewarding. And they reward you by helping you grow your business. So I think that really did it. I finally started feeling like an employer and not a self-employed,
Mm-hmm.
and it was great. And I also noticed that it seemed to be that I was also better able to take care of customers. Like, we really could focus more on quality when we grew to the infrastructure and size where we had multiple install crews and quality control people and managers. And when you're trying to stay small, which I never was trying, you just stuck
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah.
That can be difficult. So growing allowed me to do better, have a better image, do better work, and mold young men and grow human beings. So when probably in the late 2008 to 2012, when I started having guys hit six figures working for me, at that time, that was pretty new. And I was really excited about that. That was my
Mm-hmm.
big flex. Okay. Not how much money we make or how much revenue we do, but hey, I've made employees make six figures, and some of them are even high school dropouts, and that felt great.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably took too long to answer that, but that's
No, no, no. I think it's a great answer. I think I always look at it like the service of other people. That is life. Like that's what life's about, is being involved with people. And that brings up a good question. The private equity or the equity element or the investment of money and capital that you put into companies to help them grow and help them grow their people too. And then there's the people part of it. Have you ever had a situation where the money part started becoming, the balance between the financial reality and the people? How do you keep that in balance, Gary? How do you remind yourself to keep that in balance like that?
well, today it's natural, but in the beginning, I didn't have that balance, Joe, and I wasn't seeking wealth. I was running from zero. I was
Mm-hmm.
tired of being poor, man. In the '90s, HVAC techs didn't really make that much,
Mm-hmm.
and I had gone as far as I could go. I'd made it to service manager at a company I worked for, and I was trying to find more pay. A friend of mine at a supply house said, "Well, your next step is owner of the company." I'm like, "Okay, then let's do owner of the company." I was just running from zero, and it was about money for me at first, really. I think I had a little bit more of a every man for himself mentality. I didn't go in business to become an employer and mold young men. I
Mm-hmm.
I went in to not be broke anymore. I stumbled across that. It was something I didn't know I would get good at or even like one day, and now it's more about that. I just recently joined a company here in my local area, Dallas Fort Worth, that was already doing around 10 million. It's a plumbing and HVAC company, and they need help on the HVAC side. And for
Mm-hmm.
almost a year, I didn't even take pay. And
Got it.
um, yeah, but I was giving them about 25 hours a week of coaching, training, assistance, structuring. Didn't even think about it really. I just wanted to see the improvement. I liked seeing the techs with a happier look of hope and a feeling of success, and they're actually coming to me asking me for help now, and that was what I went there for, really. Sure, I'm gonna get paid for it, but you know another thing Rick Hutcherson used to tell me, he used to write this on the whiteboard, and it was, don't chase money, chase a purpose, and money will
That's it.
find you. Yeah,
If you
you
don't
probably
believe
heard
in
that.
something, if you don't believe in something, you really can't do it on a consistent basis. It's not sustainable if you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say is, first of all, how fortunate the people are that you coach and train. Now I can see it all kind of comes together with a full circle here. We have a concentric circle, it looks like. Ken Goodrich is a good friend of mine, and Rick Hutcherson, and we've been running in these concentric circles. I didn't even know you before this podcast until we met here. But it does figure, because I noticed one thing about Apex is that back in the old days when I first started doing consulting, when private equity would buy a company that I was training with, that I was doing training for, they would immediately end the relationship between me and that company. And then the company would go downhill because they weren't doing the training or coaching anymore. But at Apex, what I've noticed is that I've had several Apex companies come to me and they said, no, we're encouraged to do training and coaching with Service MVP. And which is really like kind of made me feel good that Apex is a ethical company that I can stand behind or I can recommend to people, because I'm like, there's good ones and bad ones. How do I know the good ones? The good ones are ones that put training and coaching into their people, and then the people are more important than things. It makes sense there, Gary? What do you think of that?
Yeah, and they really do care about the people. I mean, a few of my former employees left because, and it was flattering because it wasn't me. They wanted to work for me. They didn't want a corporate structure, and they left. They left too soon because the ones that stayed really have been given opportunity. We hired a CSR girl. I think she's only 22 when we hired her, single mother, and she was entry level phone girl, like $16 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
After
Yeah.
after Apex bought me. Today, I believe she is the regional CSR manager now. She made it
Wow.
to office manager of my old company that was doing in the 20 million range. So that was a good size outfit for her to level up to at such a young age. But now I believe she's regional, and we recently took over a big company in Dallas named A Number One Air, and so I mean it's a big region. There's a lot of CSRs, and she's very excited and very happy. She's not the only one. There's several others. So Opportunity is something they do offer, and surprisingly for such a big company, it does have a family feel. Now, not quite like, if you or me were running our own company with, family owned, it's not going to be
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
family owned. But the platform that operates this really does operate the way most good family owned companies do.
Mm-hmm.
I visited their original location, and it was a flashback of going to my shop. The owner talks to everybody, and everybody's walked around with a smile, an upbeat, happy attitude. So yeah, they got it right, Joe. They have it dialed in. They are big on training. They're very big on training, and they're basically what you and other great coaches tell owners to do for success in a family-owned business. They just do it on a broader scale, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
knew that worked?
Well, tell us a little bit about because you got two jobs. One is that you are still allowed by which tells me everything really, that Apex allows you to still do consulting and training and coaching with people, which is one of your things in your heart. It looks like you have a passion for. But then there's the other part where you're also in charge of finding companies that are looking for an investment or to be acquired. Tell me about if you were a company, a contracting company, what are the kind of things that you should know? Give me the super secret list, if you will, of things that a contractor should know before they start going into the point where they ask for investment from equity or even an acquisition or exit from equity. Tell me some of the things that you look for so they can have like a checklist, if you will. Gary, do you have something like that you
Yeah,
can share with us?
absolutely. So, from a high level, 4 million or more in revenue, 80% or more of residential repair and replacement. They can have some commercial, but it needs to be 80% residential. 10% net profit or higher, not to confuse with EBITDA. We usually will calculate your EBITDA for you,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll walk you right through that. That's the other thing. You don't have to know every last detail of your numbers. You do need to have a good grasp of your numbers. You need to know what your expenses are. You ought to be able to read a P&L and have accurate P&Ls. That's important too. But if you have at least 10% net profit, we'll take your taxes. We're going to prod you for any owner add backs. I joke about this, but I literally was writing off shoelaces at one point, for for work shoes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're going to ask you for more and more. Is there anything you bought at Home Depot that used your house? That counts as your EBITDA. That goes back in as profit for you. So we're going to help you raise that number. That would be another thing I would say. I'm not a broker. Apex does this the right way. They generally don't use brokers. I'm not going to say they wouldn't. I'm sure they have bought some through a broker, but they generally don't because they're doing that right. They're using guys like myself, and I have another guy that handles the South area. Same thing. Used to be a business owner because they
Mm-hmm.
know we relate. I had my business longer than I had my kids. So was that easy to let go? No. As a fellow business owner, I understand that. And so you're not dealing with a broker, and you don't have to sign a letter of engagement. You don't pay me. That's the thing. Apex uses guys like myself, and we can go talk to you and understand and sympathize with all the pains and headaches and nightmares you've been through, uh, and your fears with selling. For me, it was obviously, of course, it's about the money. You want to get enough to retire. You want to make sure that if you let it go, that you're going to be okay. Um, and Ken has a model that works very well. He's clearly one of the best at it, right? And he had Gettle at the time. And one of the things I think made him so successful was he operated them all the same, and he liked to have the same building in the
Yeah, 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 yeah.
same,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. I mean, that's the right way to do it. It sure worked for him. Um, well, in my case, that means he's not using our shop, so they're changing buildings. Change is hard on people.
It is.
They send some of their own managers, so some of mine may get a severance and be told goodbye, and that's okay. Ken is a good guy, and I know he would have taken care of the people. He assured me he would have, but Apex wanted our people. They said straight up, "This is why we buy companies. It's hard to find great people, and you got great people, and we want them." And that's what it was about too, Joe. Is they promised me they not only wanted all my people, including the managers, but they were going to offer them all room for advancement and all opportunity, and they did. not just in better benefits and so forth, but they really did offer them all a path to higher income as well. And they've been able to graduate into bigger positions that I didn't have at the time. So that was a big part of it too. I needed and wanted to take care of the team that had helped me build the company, and they promised to do it, and they did.
Yeah,
So
I think that I
and
think
wouldn't have. I definitely don't want to throw that cloud out there. I know
I
he's a
think
good
that's
man.
the I think that's the part I would like to ask a question about there, which is that from my observation as a third party, and I went through this too. I had my business I sold in 2001, and I went through that whole thing with the blue dots and all the other the flurry of activities that happened in the late 90s. People trying to acquire business with no operation game plan. Like when they tried to buy me, I knew it was not good. It felt predatory in a way. Like what they did was they exposed everything. We did a lot of things good. We had a great system of operation, over 20% net profit, but they kept exposing, and it was like a, what do you call it? I think that's why a lot of people don't want to get into it with investment companies, because they're afraid of the exposure. Like not everything's perfect. Like I have to get my books in order. And it sounds, what I've heard from the companies that Apex has acquired is that, on the contrary, it's not the Apex approaches it like a true, let me help you get your books in order. You don't have to have the books perfect. Just let's look and see what you got here. Let us help you get that EBITDA. Let me help you get those books in order in a way so we can make sense of the whole thing. And they kind of approach it more like a partner more than a predator. And I think the predatory part rolls all the way down to the employees. Like, you sell the company, the employees feel the predatory element, and the owner feels a predatory element. I think that's what people are afraid of. So who's the moral compass at Apex that does maintain that morality, or investment in people? Or we're here to help. We're not here to prey on companies. Could you tell me about that? Like, what's at the heart of that, Gary? If you don't mind saying, it's long question. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, and you're absolutely correct. They do. So one of the things I found when I sold was the fellow that helped me. I don't know. He's a outstanding human, and I really love him. I'm good friends with him still. I'm not sure, he likes to lay low. I'm not sure he wants me to say his name, so I'm gonna leave his name out. But the guy that came to help me, he literally did raise my value. I mean, they actually prompted me with questions to help me get even higher than I was expecting.
Okay.
And they've taught me how to do that. So I just closed on two companies in April here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. One was in Denton and one is in Midlothian.
Mm-hmm.
One was already a friend of mine. We were Service Nation Alliance partners, and they let me show him how to improve his numbers a little bit. He did. And then we took their financials and spent literally about 30 to 40 days just
Mm-hmm.
quizzing them, asking them, to give us more data that we could raise their number. So
Yeah.
both companies, we raised one of them $1.5 million over what he was originally sort of evaluated at.
Nice.
There's a multiple. He got 1.5 million more than the multiple really would support. So we raised both the guys' numbers, and that
Mm-hmm.
was what the original guy that I met with did. He said, "Man, I'm gonna try to get you more." And
Uh-huh.
him and an accountant just kept shooting me questions, and what about this? What about this? Can you send us this? Can you send? And next thing you know, they raised my number, and that is something I try to help everybody do too. I told that to the two guys I closed on in April, and I was really glad I was able to, because I told them I was going to try to help them do that. And yes, Joe, so their fear is this is a bargain hunt. Am I going to get beat up? And these guys were worried about that too. They're saying, man, I had a bad December. Oh, man, and it drug my whole year down. I said, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. Let's drop that off. Let's get a rolling 12. We'll wait till next month to turn your numbers in. Okay. And that's what we did. And we helped him. And the thing is, they hit all the things we're looking for. Residential, good location, good area, good employees, family owned,
Mm-hmm.
years in business. That's another thing that they do like. Minimum of 10, but the older the better. They love the legacy companies. So if we polish their numbers up a smidge, the thing is, if it's a good company, I know Apex knows they're going to get their money back. I like to deliver a good product to them, and I also want to be able to help these guys retire. I mean, um, will multiples always be this high? I don't have a crystal ball, Joe. Do you know if they will?
I have no idea.
I don't either. And
I,
I'm literally with private equity. They're there for now and the foreseeable future. But I'm good friends with Landon Brewer, and he's probably the most connected guy in the roll up and flip space I know, and
hmm
he doesn't know either. None of us really do. Will the stock market go up or down? Right? It's the same kind of thing. So right now is a great time to ask these questions. And if and I'm not trying to it sounds like I am. This sounds like a sales pitch now.
You're about to make a pitch?
But it sounds like it, doesn't it? Right? But I get a lot of inbox questions, and they shouldn't be scared because number one, like I said, you don't have to sign a letter of engagement with me. I'm not a broker.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to pay me, but I can take a quick look and tell you either what you can get right now or what you need to fix to get where you want to be. And
hmm
that's probably the gist of what I think you want me to try to help these guys understand. Don't be afraid. You're just asking questions. You're kicking tires. I can give you a number and you can say thanks and do nothing with it. There's no commitment. So that's the
Well,
pitch.
well, I think there's it's all about the motivation, like you said, Gary. I think it's, when you try to lay waste to the person you're acquiring, what comes around goes around, as they say, right? You probably heard that before, right? And, I think so far, everybody I've seen who Apex has acquired has, there's my checklist, if you will, of things that I can see from the outside is that, number one, does the private equity company, get rid of all the core people that built the company to begin with and the core systems? And what I've seen, Apex embraces the people and embraces those systems. Two, do they end the training and coaching that got us there? Or do they embrace that training and coaching, which I have seen several Apex companies use Service MVP to a great degree and become high performers within Apex service partners. And so that's why I thought this would be a great interview, because I finally get to put a face to an organization that I have a lot of respect for. So I just wanted to give you that kudos, because you probably don't even realize it, but I do my own kind of research, and I probably wouldn't have this interview if I didn't think it was good. Let's put it that way, okay?
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you. And I've actually known who you were for a few years. I wish I would have known who you were back when I was still in business. I would have hired you. I've used a lot of coaches over the years, and I don't regret any of them. Rick always gave me a money back guarantee. If you knew Rick, man, he's he's like, Gary, if I don't make my money back while I'm there, I'm not even going to charge you. He called
Yeah.
the shots. He's pretty bold, and he always did.
I learned that from Rick. I said, I told, I have a motto too. I say, Gary, in our relationship, you're going to always feel like you owe me something. I'm never going to feel like I owe you something. Okay. Let's put it that way. You're going to feel as my client that you're going to feel like you should have paid more. Never going to feel like you didn't get enough. Does that make sense, sir, Gary?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's funny. What's not funny? I was talking to Weldon Long the other day, and he said the same thing. His coaching thing was going just great, and then private equity quit using him. And I don't know if Apex uses him or not. I'm glad to hear they're using you. And I'll let you know, man. We hired a guy not long ago that just follows. He's all about your training. We probably need to try to get you by sometime.
Right.
Because he would absolutely lose his mind if you were to come and do some training with us.
Well, maybe I should start. Maybe I should start my pitch then, Gary. I'm just teasing.
Right?
We should. Maybe
Yeah.
we get 5 minutes to pitch each other. I'm just teasing you, but Gary, it's been I could talk all day. I'll tell you that right now. I didn't know. I didn't know I was going to meet a new friend. I thought I was going to meet some guy on a podcast. I didn't know I was going to meet a new friend.
Well, I need to get on more podcasts, Joe. One of the things I've never been good at is, quote unquote, tooting my own horn. You see, like I do on some of the social media groups, that everybody's a guru now, right? And
At the heart of it, Gary, it's about Apex is about people, and you're just one of the people who put a smile on the company. I would say you can't say Apex without smiling. Just try it; it doesn't work.
Right? No, I'll tell you, they couldn't have took better care of me, and they still continue to. And so, if you're an owner, considering merging, or to be honest with you, if you're an employee working for a company that you think may be selling, don't be afraid to go to that one because you're going to get more opportunity. Hey, as much opportunity as I always thrived on giving my guys, I would grow my company to offer room for advancement. It would be difficult to me, but if I had a superstar that was just showing me, the best level of work, I literally took that personally. It's like, man, I guess I better make this bigger and create a management position for this guy. And I really looked at my business that way. Um, but at some point, you can only do so much when you're sole owner. These people have multiple locations everywhere, so there's no end really to what they could, what opportunity you could show them. And I've learned this about them. They sit back and watch, but they do watch everybody. And like this girl that was just a CSR, you would think that's an insignificant position in such a large place, but they noticed she was, doing what she was supposed to and trying hard and bringing it and had a good attitude. That's another big thing. And now she's just peachy keen, happy. I think she's either married or about to get married and just had another child.
Yeah.
She's just growing exponentially, And I think she was just doing real low hourly jobs before she came along. Now she's got this, family, work family that she's a part of. So.
Well, I think the sky's the limit for people who were once employees and now who have a job similar to you. I can mention like Brent Buckley, who now is sort of in a investment position. He's not just a salesperson, he's an investor. And then we have like guys like Nick Thielen up in Minnesota who also are buying and investing in companies. So so I want all the employees to know out there that when you make money, you don't just sit on your money, a pile of money. Making your money work and investing money in people is really the most rewarding thing you can do, because you're not just investing it in a company, you're investing it in seeing other people's lives grow. And I think, people are life. That's what it's about. It's like without people, there is no life. It's just us by ourselves in a cave. And so, Gary, thanks so much for coming on the show and sending that message to inspire all the employees out there who you never know, one day could be joining you as a private equity partner. You never know.
Come on, bring them on.
Thank you, Gary, so much. Any final words before we wrap it up here?
I'm drawing a blank, Joe. There's more I could say, but maybe I'll get invited back and we can go deeper into some other stuff.
I guess I win the award because I finally got Gary to not be able to say any words, and that was a victory, I guess. I could be the first person in history who ever did that, right, Gary?
There you go. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you for the invite, Joe. I appreciate it, brother.
Well, did you? The only test I have for you is, did you have fun? That's the key thing.
Absolutely, man. I've known who you were, and I've wanted to talk to you, and I think this is the first time I've ever got to speak with you one-on-one. So I enjoyed the conversation. You actually have a more happy, positive attitude than I would have guessed just from seeing short clips of you. So
those TikToks, like I'm pretty serious in those TikToks, but actually,
you got to be right. The coach mentality. There you go.
You got to have that bulldog in you. But Gary, thanks so much for being here. Gary, what can people do if they want to get a hold of you so they can look more into this if they do want to talk to you?
Well, of course, I'm on Facebook just under my regular name, so you can always DM me there. I don't mind. I'll give out an old email. You know what? Never mind. That one's probably hard to remember. I still try to field most messages on my phone, so let's go with that. 817-538-1003. My phone blows up anyway, so just go on and jump in there.
Well, you never know, that text might be from somebody special who is waiting for an investment in their future. Gary, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Joe.
Peace out.